Brenda from Mainly Hybrid Homesteading. Today I'm going to be sharing a recipe for meatloaf, and it's paleo and AIP friendly. And also, if you want to add some more nutrient density to your foods, this meatloaf recipe has liver in it. However, you really can't taste the liver if you're someone that has not done well with liver in the past. You're really going to love this recipe. It has a lot of savory flavors in it, and it really does hide the liver taste. I also like liver just sauteed with onions, but I think if you do have allergies, like this recipe doesn't have any eggs in it, and the liver holds the meatloaf together. So our ingredients, we're going to have 1 pound of ground pork and a pound of ground beef. And I usually try to buy grass-fed ground beef, and in my area I've found I get a better deal actually at Walmart. Of course it's more expensive, but you know, do the best you can with higher prices nowadays. If all you can buy is the regular ground beef, then go with that. Okay, so yeah, just use what you can. I do use the natural ground pork, but again, if you know you can only afford the regular ground pork, that's fine as well. It also calls for 2 stalks of celery and a medium carrot chopped up, and I'm leaving those ingredients out because they're on my allergy list. But it does call for a medium yellow onion, and I have that already chopped up. And you can saute or brown the onions a little bit to even get more flavor into this recipe. And then we're going to put 4 cloves of garlic. And I usually try to save time and just buy the minced garlic. And I figure about a tablespoon is 4 cloves of garlic. And then I have my dried spices. She has the measurements here for fresh herbs, but I'm using dried because that's what I can afford. So we have some fresh parsley. I've got a couple of tablespoons of fresh parsley and 1.5 tablespoons of basil, 1.5 tablespoons of oregano, and half a tablespoon of thyme, and half a tablespoon of chives, dried chives. There's also paprika and fennel seed in this recipe, but I'm following the autoimmune protocol, so I'm going to be leaving those out, as well as the cayenne pepper and the regular pepper, because those are considered nightshades. But if you like a little more spice, then by all means add them into your recipe. So now we have our liquid ingredients. We're going to put a tablespoon of molasses, and a couple tablespoons of coconut aminos, and 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I think this is actually one of the secret ingredients here that adds a lot of flavor. And 1 tablespoon of fish sauce, which will also add some savoriness to the meatloaf. And that's it for our ingredients. Oh, except for the liver. I forgot the liver. So I pureed this ahead of time. We're just using 1 pound of chicken livers, and you can get these pretty cheaply. I get them for under $2 for a pound, which is pretty good, and you can freeze it. I like to prepare my liver ahead of time. I like to trim all the fat off of it and any of the gristly parts. I hate chewing on gristle. This part is a little bit disgusting, but you're not even gonna know that it's in there. So you can certainly mix this with a spoon. I like to just get my hands in there with the gloves on, but if you really want to get your hands in there, then get your hands in there. So I thought I remembered this being cooked for an hour, but it takes almost 2 hours to cook this in one big loaf pan, because the temperature has to reach 160 degrees in the center of the meatloaf. So I think in the interest of time today, I'm going to split it up into 2 loaf pans and cut my cooking time down. And probably gonna freeze the second one. I did freeze it before. Oh, my oven's ready. It does freeze very well. Because I'm usually the only one eating this here. So I like to prepare all my meals ahead of time for the coming work week. Saves me time and money. So I usually just give it one final stir to get all the, make sure everything's mixed together. She does recommend that once you mix everything together to let it sit for an hour or two for all the flavors to blend. But I've cooked it right away and it's just fine. But if you want to do this like the night before, you're going to be cooking it, then it'll be ready to go the next night for dinner. So I am going to split this up. If you are going to put it in one pan, I would recommend putting a larger baking dish underneath, because it will drip a little bit as it's cooking. Okay. So I'm going to put these in and set my timer for about 45 minutes and then check my temperatures. And hey, if we can cut the cooking time down to half, better I'll be anyway. Okay, so while that's cooking, I have time to do some side dishes or whatever else I need to do around the house. So it's fairly quick to put together. You just have to plan your ingredients ahead of time, and let's see how it looks like when it comes out. Okay, so the meatloaf has been in there for about 50-55 minutes, and I'm gonna check them, see if they're ready. I think they might need a little more time. I can tell just by looking at them they're not. So you may have noticed that after I mixed up my meatloaf and put it in the oven, I hadn't put in my dry spices that I mixed up. And luckily I noticed it within the first 5 minutes after when I was cleaning up. So I did take it back out and add the spices. But these are definitely not up to temperature, only 140. So we're gonna put them back in for another 15 minutes, I think. And we'll check them again. This is an experiment here. Trying to save energy and time by cooking them in separate loaf pans and cutting the recipe in half. So stay tuned. Okay, so it looks like we're definitely up to temperature. We just needed to get up to 160 and they're up to 180. And so these were cooking about an hour and 15 minutes, and probably could have been a little bit less, but definitely shorter than when you're making a single loaf. It would took me almost 2 hours. So I guess it depends on your preference. If you prefer like a taller loaf, then make it all at once. But if you want to save some money and use less gas from your oven or power, then split it up in two and cook it that way. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. There's many more coming, many recipes that I want to try. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time. Bye.